All right, let's give this a shot. This is going to be a little different today. We're going to go over the Agile software development lifecycle. So, I was listening to one of the videos that Non-Vaxxer 420 posted, and in those, expert lectures, somebody mentioned Agile. The only reason I know what Agile is because I have a background in IT staffing. And so a lot of times hiring managers wanted to find someone who had Agile methodology in their background. So we're going to go over the Agile methodology, what it's used for, or just what the steps are, because the applications are pretty endless. It's just a standard process for developing a product or a service, or I guess a program, anything. It could be, I guess it could be digital, right? And it could be physical, could be both. So every, I guess, agile project is going to have the following phases. We have requirement gathering, right? So we're going to try to define what what the product or service has to be, right? So the end users or the stakeholders, or the people that are coming up with the concept, they're going to be specific in their requirements, and I guess that's part of the design requirements. And I'm not an expert, so feel free to check me on any of this. I'm just looking stuff up online and doing some searching. Coding, I don't know. Again, not technical, but I imagine that's piecing it all together and coming up with the actual language. Um, Testing, right? So it's going to be quality assurance, and I imagine there's probably some user testing, but what do I know? Then deployment, uh, right? Once everything has been approved and signed off on by the people who conceptualized and the stakeholders and everyone else internally, you essentially have your product that's ready for deployment. And then feedback, we know everything is fake and gay. So that's ultimately where we end up. So let's go through each phase. I tried to make it artful a little bit for you guys. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. All right, so we have agile methodology. We have phase one, the concept, right? And the concept is going to come from the stakeholders, right? We want to know who's going to be involved in designing or manufacturing a product, and who is the customer base, who's going to be using whatever we come up with. And then we have the planning phase. It says detailed plan for the first iteration, and those iterations are called sprints, typically 1 to 4 weeks. And in the planning phase, this is specific. They prioritize a list of requirements, and I guess those requirements are written as user stories. User stories is specific language to technology, or that piece of the industry. Defining objectives and acceptance criteria for the sprint. So that'll again be clearly laid out by the stakeholders or the customers. Right, they're going to be very specific in terms of what they want to see, measurable, actionable goals every week. Then we can go into development, create the product, 1 to 4 week sprints, close collaboration, daily meetings, and those meetings are called scrums. So every day, everyone internally is going to meet. They're going to talk about what they worked on, address any problems, because every day, you're kind of responsible for deliverables, and you're going to speak on what you're doing. So it's very under the microscope. Come back to that. Okay, we have Agile methodology continued. We'll get into the testing and quality assurance, and that is continuous throughout the entire life cycle. So, and I think that maybe ties into the daily scrums, right? So if there's a problem or a question or something needs to be addressed, um, the QA team can work on, I guess, um, working out the bugs. Review and retrospective. So review the sprint and get feedback from the customers, stakeholders, sprint team, internal review of feedback and product. So yeah, so again, very day to day with the meetings, and everyone internally is going to get immediate feedback. Do the stakeholders like what they're seeing? Is this the product that was initially conceived or initially thought of? And if not, how do we change it? I guess we'll get into deployment. Second to last is deployment. At that point, everything has been tested, approved. Stakeholders say, this is great. This is what we like. Let's send it out. And you have your finished product tested and approved, ready for release to the end users. And as we go through this, guys, I should have said this at the beginning, but I want you to think about like how we, and I mean we the people, are maybe experimented on, and how this life cycle, right, the agile life cycle, you might be able to pick up on. Because one of the things that I was thinking is, the phones are constantly upgraded, right? And I think this has been pretty much proven in terms of the biology and everything else that connects us to the technology. But, are we being experimented on? I think the obvious answer is yes. If we look up at the skies, that should be an obvious one. But how is it tied into the technology? And just as we read through the life cycle, like, is it not directly applicable to, what we see in our daily lives? Anyway, the last phase is maintenance and retirement. So we have our product, right? It's been deployed, and we're going to have enhancement. We're going to have ongoing support for the product as long as the product is doing what the stakeholders want it to do, right? And then at a certain point, replace or retire. And that's what I was just saying with the phone upgrades that happen, right, every 3 days, it seems like. But or are they gonna just retire us, right? Are we part of that software development life? Are people part of the software development life cycle? But no, this methodology obviously is applied to pretty much every single. I shouldn't say every single, but it applies to a lot of tech projects or software development projects, and I guess products as well too, as we're gonna go into. Let's see. Oh, the AI search that I did. Let's see. Search phases of Agile methodology, SDLC, as it relates to technology weapons development. Because I was just curious, like, does the Department of Defense or, do weapons manufacturers, I don't know, do they use Agile and when they're developing technological weapons? And the obvious answer is yes. And it said that in the context of the Department of Defense, DoD, and weapons systems, the Agile methodology adapts the standard commercial SDLC to focus on delivering capabilities faster through iterative development and continuous user feedback, which is the same, right? The same thing as what we just went over. And so if you look that up, you'll find that the DoD uses Agile, right, to the same way that Google or anyone else would. Let's see, did I have any other notes? I think think that was it. Thank you guys for your patience. That's Agile. This is part one of Agile, and this is just going over the basics of what the methodology is. And on part two, I'm gonna have fun putting together a real life application scenario for us. And hopefully that's a little more entertaining. But this is the basics. And so what caught my ear the other day was listening to that video that Non-Vaxxer posted, and those psychopaths talking about whatever biological weapons they're working on with nanotech and whatever else, and how their their process involved Agile. So that caught my ear and brought me back to my IT staffing days. And here we are. We have Agile. Whatever. That was a thing too back in the. Apparently, it's still a thing today, and it makes sense too if you understand how it works. It's very. There's a lot of accountability there in the daily meetings, I think, and the scrums, and so it makes sense if I were developing something to use a methodology like this.